Picture this: the woman who once screamed at me in front of the whole office, who made me question my own worth, is now sitting across from me in a conference room, her face pale, her hand shaking as she realizes I'm now her boss's boss, and she has no idea what's coming next. If you've ever dreamed of seeing karma catch up to a workplace bully, hit that like button, subscribe, and get ready because this is one of the most satisfying revenge stories you'll ever hear. Let me take you back to the worst year of my life. My husband and I were both laid off, bills were piling up, and every day felt like a new test of how much stress a person could handle. When I finally landed a new job, I didn't care that it was a step down. I just needed a lifeline. The team seemed friendly, the manager, let's call him Gary, seemed supportive, and for a moment I let myself hope that things were turning around. But hope is a fragile thing. Gary was overwhelmed, so he handed me off to another manager, Jane. My official role was to be the connection point between my team and hers. In reality, I became Jane's personal punching bag. It started small. Jane would suggest I work through lunch or ask me to reschedule my vacation days. But soon, the mask slipped. She'd call me at 11 p.m. on weekends, barking orders like I was her servant. She'd make snide comments about my weight, about my race, things so personal and cruel, I started keeping a list just to remind myself I wasn't imagining it. That list grew to 3 pages. I tried to stand up for myself. I'd push back, ask for boundaries. But every time I did, Jane doubled down. She'd raise her voice on calls, humiliate me in front of others, and make it clear, in her world, I was nothing. But I couldn't quit. Not with bills to pay, not with my family depending on me. So I endured. Every day, I'd wake up with a pit in my stomach, dreading what fresh hell Jane would unleash. The breaking point came on a Friday afternoon. I was already raw from a family tragedy, barely holding it together. Jane called me into a meeting and tore into me for a minor scheduling mistake, something so trivial it barely made sense. But she screamed, berated, and belittled me until I felt like I was shrinking into nothing. I left the office shaking, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might burst. I sat in my car and sobbed, the kind of ugly, desperate crying that leaves you gasping for air. I knew I couldn't do this anymore. That night, I called Gary. I told him everything, every insult, every late night call, every time Jane made me feel worthless. He listened, and for the first time, I saw real sympathy. He wasn't surprised. Half of Jane's team had already quit. He offered to move me to a different team under him, and I jumped at the chance. But Jane wasn't done with me. Even after I switched teams, she found ways to make my life miserable. She'd send me emails demanding I do tasks that weren't my responsibility. When I ignored her, she marched over to my desk and loudly questioned my qualifications in front of everyone. HR complaints went nowhere. Her manager was in another country, and no one seemed willing to deal with her. After 2 months of this, I broke. I wrote my resignation letter, stapled my 3-page list of Jane's offenses to it, and CC'd everyone, HR, Gary, even Jane's boss overseas. I didn't leave quietly. I told everyone exactly why I was leaving. The months that followed were brutal. My husband and I scraped by, sometimes eating nothing but bread for dinner just to keep the lights on. We faced a health crisis, a funeral, and the kind of financial stress that makes you question everything. I applied to job after job, sometimes 20 a day, hoping for a break. But even as I struggled, I refused to let Jane win. I told myself, one day she'll get what she deserves. Then, out of nowhere, I saw a memo online. A big shot from a former company, someone I'd worked closely with, was joining my old company. I shot him a quick text. Congrats. Let me know if you need any insights on the new place. He called me. We caught up, talked about the company's strengths and weaknesses, and he asked if I'd consider joining his team as chief of staff. I couldn't believe it. After months of feeling invisible, someone finally saw my worth. I accepted. My first day back was surreal. There was a massive all-hands meeting with all the VPs and senior leaders in a giant conference room. The new big shot gave his welcome speech and casually mentioned that I'd be his chief of staff. I watched Jane's face as the words sunk in. Her eyes widened. Her mouth fell open. I was now 2 levels above her.
Word spread fast. Gary congratulated me, genuinely happy. But Jane? She couldn't hide her bitterness. Instead of being professional, she sent the big shot an email, trashing me, calling me unqualified, accusing me of lying to get ahead. She didn't even try to be subtle. Big Shot forwarded me her email. "What's this about?" he asked. My heart raced. I was nervous, but also excited. This was my moment. I told Big Shot the truth. I explained how Jane had poisoned the company culture, how she'd driven out her entire team. I showed him my resignation letter, still saved on my desktop, with the 3-page list of her offenses. Gary backed me up, confirming that every single person on Jane's team had quit. Other staff came forward, sharing their own horror stories and nasty emails from Jane. Big Shot didn't hesitate. On Friday, Jane was fired. I wish I could describe the look on Jane's face when she realized her reign of terror was over. The woman who once made me feel powerless, who thought she was untouchable, was finally held accountable. She didn't get a chance to explain, to twist the story, to play the victim. The evidence spoke for itself. For the first time in a long time, I felt free. I felt vindicated. I walked into work with my head held high, knowing that I'd not only survived Jane, I'd outlasted her. I'd won. Sometimes justice takes time. Sometimes it feels like the bad guys always win. But if you keep your head up, keep your receipts, and never let anyone make you feel small, karma has a way of coming back around. And when it does, it's sweeter than you could ever imagine. If this story gave you chills, smash that like button and tell us in the comments, what's the most satisfying workplace revenge you've ever witnessed? And of course, subscribe for more stories where karma finally catches up. Until next time, remember, never let a bully write your ending.